Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
The mistake really is there's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it, so now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex.
All right.
What'd she say?
She basically pointed out that it's been a while since we've checked in on the chaos coming out of The View, and you might assume they've mellowed out. Nope, still at full volume with their usual brand of woke ridiculousness. But this time they didn't get away with it. Enter Bill Maher and Karoline Leavitt, an unexpected pairing who teamed up to shut them down hard. And yes, it was everything. So, what kind of wild takes were the ladies of The View tossing around this time? And how did Bill and Karoline fire back with the perfect mix of sharp humor and straight-up truth? Don't worry, we've got all the highlights, all the mic drop moments. Strap in. This one's going to be a ride.
To get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
So, you might be asking why Bill Maher is suddenly out here calling for less hatred between opposing political sides. Well, it seems the ladies of The View aren't too pleased with Maher's gradual shift toward the right. What really sent them over the edge? His recent dinner with none other than former President Trump. On a recent episode, Whoopi Goldberg was furious, tearing into Maher for having the audacity to dine with the man they consider public enemy number one. So much so, she refused to even say his name.
Listen, take him seriously and take him literally.
I don't think that we have to. I think it would be remiss of us to not say Joe Biden knows how to do this. Yes, he knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I mean
He rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just
But can I mention one thing?
Whoopi's crude outburst was just the beginning. What came next was a full-blown takedown of Bill Maher's character. She couldn't handle the fact that Maher had crossed a line, sharing a meal with the man they've spent years vilifying. For Whoopi and the rest of the panel, this wasn't just a dinner, it was a betrayal, pure and simple. And in their minds, no amount of reasoning, humor, or honest conversation could ever make up for the unforgivable offense of sitting down with the so-called devil.
How dare you be so flippant, man? Listen, nobody on the planet really wants to go through this. This is not something we're doing because it's, really gratifying. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody.
If you know anything about Bill Maher, you knew he wasn't about to let this slide. And sure enough, he delivered. On a recent episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, the comedian came out swinging, taking direct aim at Whoopi Goldberg and anyone else gasping over his White House visit. With his signature mix of biting sarcasm and pointed commentary, Maher tore their outrage apart bit by bit, making it crystal clear. He doesn't need their permission, and he's not asking for it. It was vintage Maher. Bold, unapologetic, and razor-sharp.
As you know, 12 days ago, I had dinner with President Trump, a dinner that was set up by my friend Kid Rock, because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute.
Before delivering his verbal takedown of Whoopi Goldberg, which I'll play in just a moment, Maher made one thing perfectly clear. This is still America, where democracy means something. He reminded everyone that differing opinions don't require hatred, and that disagreement doesn't have to turn into rage. You don't need to lose your mind just because someone sees the world differently. It's called civil discourse, a concept the ladies of The View seem to have discarded along with last week's headlines. Maher wasn't just standing up for himself, he was standing up for the principle that we can disagree without going to war over it. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, not to Whoopi, who lashed out at Maher for what she saw as a personal attack.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
I know as I say that, millions of liberal sphincters just tightened. Oh my God, Bill, are you gonna say something nice about him? What I'm gonna do is report exactly what happened. You decide what you think about it. And if that's not enough pure Trump hate for you, I don't give a f.
Whoopi even went as far as to compare Trump to Kamala Harris, unintentionally exposing her not-so-hidden wish that it had been the vice president who invited Maher to dinner instead. Had that been the case, she wouldn't have flinched. She likely would have thrown the after-party herself. Every bit of praise Maher gave Trump, if directed at Kamala, would have had Whoopi clapping like a seal. But because it was Trump, those same words were treated like betrayal. This wasn't about values or consistency. It was pure partisanship. And Whoopi just laid that bare for all to see.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid on a regular basis. It just happened to coincide.
And this is exactly why I respect Bill Maher. He doesn't just preach free speech, he lives it. When the outrage machine turns on him, he doesn't back down. Even after Whoopi Goldberg publicly targeted him on national TV, Maher stood firm, unwavering in what he believes. That kind of resolve is rare these days and deserves real credit, especially since Whoopi's outburst drew heat from across the spectrum, with some even demanding she step down. But Maher didn't play the victim. He leaned harder into his principles, and that's what makes him different. Still, he didn't wrap up without dropping a few bombs of his own.
Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Ouch. Did Bill Maher really just compare Whoopi Goldberg to a hunter and himself to a lion? You heard that right. Say what you will about Maher, but the man knows how to turn a phrase. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. In this strange media safari, Goldberg stormed in like a righteous hunter, guns blazing, aiming to take down the supposed traitor. But Maher, cast as the prey, flipped the narrative. Instead of fleeing, he fired back with sharp wit and well-aimed shots she never saw coming. In the end, it wasn't the lion who limped away. It was the hunter who looked shaken. And while Maher was dialing things down, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt was just getting started.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and sex, and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
Leavitt is absolutely on point. The moral unraveling driven by modern-day wokeness has infiltrated nearly every aspect of society, leaving behind a trail of real damage. What once posed as empathy and progress has twisted into a corrosive force of censorship, division, and obsessive identity politics. News outlets no longer focus on facts. They manufacture narratives. Universities churn out ideology instead of education. Political parties prioritize virtue signals over real-world fixes. Even healthcare isn't immune, as ideology begins to overshadow science and patient welfare. This isn't some minor cultural shift, it's a full-scale crisis. Wokeness isn't repairing our society, it's hollowing it out. Whoopi Goldberg isn't just another opinionated host. She's become a symbol of the very ideology poisoning public discourse. Her unwavering loyalty to woke dogma shows just how easily celebrity influence can be weaponized to shame, silence, and slander anyone who dares to disagree. Rather than encouraging real dialogue, she fans the flames of a cancel-happy culture that's ripping society apart. And with that, Karoline Leavitt turned up the heat on Whoopi even further.
And the irony in all of this is that Joe Biden and the Democrats and these ladies on The View constantly say President Trump is the alleged threat to democracy, when in fact they themselves are wishfully thinking that President Trump will be imprisoned when he has not been convicted of any crimes. That is the real threat to democracy. Voters see that, and that's why President Trump continues his dominance.
Karoline Leavitt absolutely tore into those bitter panelists. And let's face it, they had it coming. For years, the women of The View have spoon-fed their loyal audience a steady diet of half-truths, spin, and outright fiction. all wrapped up as feel-good commentary. Just look at how they once hailed Joe Biden as the best thing to happen to America, even as it became increasingly clear he was struggling with cognitive issues in plain sight. Then there's Kamala Harris, whom they anointed as the savior of democracy, despite her frequent struggles to form a clear, coherent sentence without diving headfirst into a jumble of buzzwords. It's pure propaganda, dressed up in pearls, polished sets, and high-pitched laughter. But thankfully, Leavitt didn't come to play. Armed with facts, composure, and backbone, she shattered their delusions in front of a national audience. Of course, Whoopi Goldberg tried to fire back in her usual fashion, but Leavitt's reply, nothing short of legendary.
The mistake really is there's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it, so now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex.
Leavitt laid bare the contradiction of a woman who preaches tolerance and unity, yet erupts in outrage over someone simply sharing a meal with a former president she dislikes. She reminded the nation that real leadership means standing firm in your beliefs, not bending to the loudest crowd. This wasn't just a viral moment, it was a wake-up call. Each truth bomb she dropped chipped away at the foundations of unchecked woke hysteria. In the end, Karoline Leavitt and Bill Maher delivered a knockout combo that exposed the performative outrage and emotional theatrics of The View. Whoopi Goldberg's fury over one dinner revealed the uncomfortable truth. Those who scream the loudest about tolerance often practice the least of it. Maher held his ground. Leavitt came in swinging, and together, they tore through the illusions propped up by the media elite. This wasn't just a fleeting headline, it was a cultural marker. More Americans are opening their eyes, and the old games of shame and spin are losing their grip. The tide is turning, and truth is pushing back. And with that, we wrap up today's episode. If you're into bold, unfiltered commentary, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.